Hello, everyone. I'm Pamela Coons at the Wellness Radio TV at the Kentucky Horse Park in Lexington, Kentucky. Horse racing has always been one of America's favorite pastimes. And while you may have watched races or heard about the Kentucky Derby and other races, you may have asked yourself, where are African Americans when it comes to horse racing? Well, actually, African Americans were at the beginning of horse racing. Think about it. They were the trainers. They were the riders. As a matter of fact, the inaugural Kentucky Derby in 1875 was won by African American Oliver Lewis. Oliver Lewis was one of 13 other African Americans who actually rode in that race. There were 15 horses in the race. 13 of them were ridden by African Americans. And as time went on, African Americans continued to dominate the sport of racing. As I mentioned, they were the trainers and they were the jockeys. As we are here at the Kentucky Horse Park in Lexington, Kentucky, there are just small monuments to commemorate the contributions of African Americans to the sport of racing. It is believed, it is hoped that there will be more stories that are told because these men actually were the first superstar athletes, many of them in the 1800s, who won money in the amounts that would be the equivalent to $1 million a year. Many of them bought the freedom of their family members who were still in slavery. So they were considered the first superstars, the most celebrated and the richest athletes in America during that time. It wasn't until the Jim Crow laws that came about that caused separation between the races, because black and white people used to go to the races and they would stand there and they would bet. And it was after the Jim Crow laws that black jockeys were no longer permitted to ride the horses. And think about the black jockey that you would see in people's yards. Now, I'm a little bothered that over the years I was made to believe that that symbol was something negative, when in fact those black jockeys represent the first superstar athletes, first superstar African Americans, the first wealthy African Americans in the sporting arena. If you have a black jockey, paint it back black, paint it back its original color, because it represents a part of our history that we should be proud of and not ashamed of. I'm Pamela Coons in Lexington, Kentucky at the Kentucky Horse Park at the Wellness Radio TV. Remember, there is healing at the well.